What's up, guys? Welcome back to episode 2 of the SNS Sportscast. As always, that's Santa. I'm Stack. We're bringing you guys nothing but the best. Today, we're going to be going over Major League Baseball and their 3 tentative plans for the 2020 Major League Baseball season. So, without further ado, Matt, I'm going to introduce you and let you bring up the first plan.
Yep. Hi, everybody. So the first plan that's been discussed for the MLB start of the season this year during this unfortunate circumstance with the coronavirus is the original Arizona plan. This is the one where they are trying to move all 30 teams to the greater area of Phoenix, Arizona, and quarantine them and their families together. Here, they would play all games at local spring training facilities and the Arizona Diamondback Stadium, and potentially playing 7-inning doubleheaders every day to try to make up as many games as possible. So this plan is one of the older ones that's been going on and been speculating for a while now, and and it's one that's the MLB's hoping is like last resort type of plan. You know, I mean, I'm sure you could comment on that too. What would you think of just no division? There would be no divisions. It would just be a kind of a free for all. What would you think about that?
I mean, this is definitely my least favorite of the 3 proposals. The reason this proposal came about, in my opinion, this was at the heart of the epidemic when coronavirus was just spreading like wildfire throughout the country. But now, a couple weeks later, it seems like the virus is slowing down a little bit. So that's why the MLB has now come up with 2 different plans. But I think this was the original and the most emergency, worst-case scenario type of baseball season, just to make some money and give the fans some baseball to watch. But like I said, that was at the heart and the pinnacle of the coronavirus. So I do think that that's probably going to be the last option unless we see a huge spike out of nowhere in the virus. I don't see that Arizona plan happening, rightfully so. I just think it's too difficult to isolate players from their families.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think logistically it's tough. I mean, don't get me wrong, as baseball fans like me and you and everybody else out there, really, I'm sure everybody's starving to watch baseball.
Right. Listen, if that happens, I'm fine with it. Just as you just said, I'm fine with watching baseball, even if it's worst case scenario. But let's just get some baseball at the end of the day, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So overall, I would say the pros of that are you're getting an opportunity to watch your teams play a little bit.
Exactly.
Certain scenarios like the Dodgers with Mookie Betts, guys they have on 1-year deals, you get a chance to actually have them play because in this MLB proposed new collective bargaining agreement with this is these players will become free agents next year regardless if there's a season or not. So I would want to, at least see somebody suit up for 1 year.
Right.
So, and just the cons real quick, I think it would not have a feel of a baseball season, right? Don't you agree? Just constant round robin.
Right. It's kind of like a Little League World Series where everybody stays in the barracks and they're all living together basically and all playing on the same field. It's just like, I mean, baseball is baseball. Yeah, we want baseball, but if that's the worst case, then I'll take it. But as of right now, that's for sure my least favorite of the 3.
Oh, yeah, agreed. And the other main thing that who knows if the players would even want to play in 115-degree heat every day in the middle of the day in Arizona.
Exactly.
That's what it comes down to. Mm-hmm. All right, so enough with this one. Like I said, this is the most basic plan and hopefully the last resort. So Ant's going to discuss the newest, most up-to-date plan proposed by the MLB.
Right. So the plan that I'm going to be talking about, it's called the division realignment. And in my opinion, I do like this one probably the best. So what it's going to be is the divisions are going to be broken up by alignment and by where each team is located. So it's going to be the West. There's going to be a Central Division and an Eastern Division so that the logistics work out and there's not too many teams traveling across the country so many times. So in the West, you'll have the Dodgers, the Angels, the Giants, the Oakland A's, San Diego Padres, Diamondbacks, Rockies, Rangers, Astros, Mariners. Yes, that was a mouthful. And another thing to think about here, there's 3 divisions with 10 teams in each division. So there is a lot of teams per division. You have the Central, the Cubs, the White Sox, the Brewers, the Cardinals, the Royals, the Reds, the Indians, Twins, Braves, and Tigers. And the East, where I'm a Yankee fan, Matt's a Mets fan. The Eastern Division, in our opinion, is going to be the most fun by far. You got the Yankees, you got the Mets, you got the Red Sox, the World Series defending Washington Nationals. Then you got the Orioles, the Phillies, the Pirates, the Blue Jays, the Rays, and the Marlins. So there is a ton of good competition all around in each division. And the rules are going to be every team will play a 100 regular game season as opposed to the regular 162. And what happens is the top 4 teams in each of the 3 divisions will get in the playoffs. So the postseason will expand to 12 teams in the postseason. The best 4 teams, they'll have a bye. So it's basically a first-round bye. And then the bottom 8, they're going to play a 1-game playoff. So it's basically like the wild card round, except of having 2 wild card games. We're going to have 4 wild card games this year, which is wild. And then the rest of the playoffs will be a best of 5 and then 2 consecutive best of 7 series. In my opinion, that's the most, I guess you could say, realistic and the most close to baseball that we've had all along. And, with the coronavirus, the season will go late into November. But in my opinion, this is the closest thing to regular baseball that we've been seeing all along, and I like it the best.
All right, let me just jump in here. And very well said. This is definitely the closest thing to real baseball that we're going to get as far as a real, travel different cities and play in different areas. And, have the same rivalries that we would within the divisions. But, with a little bit of a twist. I mean, it's very interesting. The idea of thinking about the Mets and Yankees even just playing each other multiple times a year.
Right.
I mean, that itself is just something that's intriguing, and I'm sure baseball fans would love to see this. Couple different things which would be a result of this is the universal DH, I believe, will come into a play. I know that hasn't been confirmed yet, but I do believe that with all this constant interleague play and the lack of a real spring training behind it, I don't think the pitchers are going to hit, because I think they're going to just let them focus on pitching, which is something that the National League has been talking about adapting for a while now.
Right.
And yeah, the interesting thing is the divisions, as you could see, like when you name the West Coast is the AL West and the NL West. But then it gets interesting that the Atlanta Braves are actually in the Central Division here, and the Pittsburgh Pirates would be joining the East. And at first I was a little skeptical about this as to why. But then sure enough, after doing some research, Atlanta is actually more central than Pittsburgh is. Did you even know that?
I didn't, but my only reaction was basically, as a Yankee fan, jumping for joy. The fact that the Braves are not in our division and the Pirates are, because that's just a team that both the Yankees and the Mets can just absolutely pound on and keep stacking those 100-game seasons, because every game is that much more important now that there's only 100 games, not 162. And as a Yankee fan, I've seen them get out to a lot of slow starts and then pick it up mid-season. This year, more than ever, it's crucial to be at your best from game 1 to game 100, because every game counts tremendously.
100% agree with you on that. I mean, you said it. The Yankees have been actually known to get off to a slow start the last couple of years, whether it be 500 or a little under, like, maybe losing to Baltimore 2 out of 3 in the first series, right? I believe that happened.
Exactly. That's exactly what they did.
And on the opposite side of things, the Mets have actually been known to get off to a really hot start.
Yep, 3-0. I feel like every single year in your first series.
Yeah, the Mets are the best opening day team ever. I mean, statistically, their winning percentage is like close to 700 in opening day. It's insane.
I believe it.
And but yeah, no, you made a lot of really good points. I think as a baseball fan, this is the most exciting plan because it gives you the closest thing to a real season and a real playoffs. And, I know they're saying no fans, of course, which, I mean, I don't know if there'll be any at all, but they haven't ruled it out at the end of the season. But this gives you the best opportunity to watch your team closest to home and have all the games televised, because I don't even know how, like in the Arizona plan, they would have all these games televised by their local broadcast networks all the time, because they would have to be housed there too. It's a lot of logistical stuff behind it that makes that plan not make a lot of sense. So yeah, that's what I have to add to this. So I'm sure you have more.
Yeah, and speaking of logistics, I mean, this is just the best possible plan because teams are playing division teams that are closest to home. I mean, if you're the Yankees, say they play the Mets, 7, 8 times, maybe probably more, like 13, 14 times in this new season. They just get on a train. They go right to Flushing, and then they go from Flushing to the Bronx, vice versa. So it just all makes a lot of sense given these unorthodox times that we're going through. So I do like the MLB coming together and putting this plan together. But there is one more plan left, and I'm going to let you take that over.
Yeah. So the last plan, which is kind of like a hybrid plan of both of these two plans to an extent, is the spring training realignment plan. As it sounds in the name, this would basically mean that all the teams would play out of their spring training facilities in Arizona and Florida, respectively. And they would be realigned into 3 divisions within each of the 2 leagues to make travel a lot easier,
Right.
and to help with eventually determining playoff teams and division winners. And it'll allow the teams more localized to play each other. So in the Grapefruit League, it's the East, South, and North divisions. I'm going to start with what I think is probably the most competitive of the divisions would be the East, which includes the Mets.
Yes.
The Mets play out of Port St. Lucie, and as any Mets fan knows by watching their spring training schedule, they play the Nationals, Astros, and Cardinals, I feel like, every other day.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be the Mets, the Nationals, the Astros, Cardinals, and the Marlins. And that division includes both of last season's World Series opponents and another formidable one and constant playoff contender.
NLCS last year, the Cardinals.
Yeah, the Cardinals, a constant playoff. And just as a Mets fan, I have a personal hatred for those Cardinals so much. Ever since 2006, watching Beltran strike out looking to Adam Wainwright in the 9th inning of the NLCS, I've absolutely hated them.
Yeah, he should have went up there with a golf club. I mean, what do you take, 3 fastballs right down the middle?
Hey, 0-2 curveball that froze him. I mean, not going to lie, nobody knew who Adam Wainwright really was at the time. Turned out he ended up being a pretty good pitcher.
Yeah, so. He had a good career.
The next division would be the South, which is the Boston Red Sox, the Minnesota Twins, Atlanta Braves, Tampa Bay Rays, and Baltimore Orioles, which is another challenging division now that I'm looking at it more.
Right. Braves, Twins, Red Sox, Rays. That's tough.
I know Boston didn't make the playoffs last year, but they're due for a bounce back. Even though they lost Mookie Betts, I think – listen, that offense was rolling last year. I know their pitching's not going to be as great.
They were cheating.
Yeah, to an extent. But I do think that the Red Sox are due for a bounce back, even though they're going to lose Chris Sale and they lost Mookie Betts. I think that offense has enough firepower to at least propel them to win a lot of games. Not necessarily saying that they still might be the 4th best team in that division, but that division's tough, top to bottom, minus Baltimore, of course. I mean, that team's just – there's no hope there.
Love playing the Orioles, stacking wins.
And then finally the North, which is the Yankees, the Phillies, the Blue Jays, the Tigers, and the Pirates. That I would say is the weakest of the 3 divisions. I'm sure you would love the idea of playing
Yankees
the Pirates and the Tigers.
Roll through that division is what I say to that.
Mm-hmm. It includes 1 postseason team from a year before, the Yankees, right, like you said, and 2 definitely improved teams in the Phillies and the Blue Jays. I'm sure. What do you have to say about Toronto? What do you think about them?
Listen, I mean, they're young. I still think they're a couple of years away from contending. They did go out and get a pitcher in Hyun-Jin Ryu. That was something they were lacking immensely. They had no pitching last year. They also picked up, I believe, Tanner Rourke also. Yep. So those are 2 pretty good additions to their staff. I think they're going to compete, but I don't think they're going to win too many games. They're going to be kind of like the New York Rangers I know I'm going way off the map here with hockey, but they competed every night, won a few games, lost a couple close games. I think the Blue Jays are going to be like that, kind of a rebuilding team in a couple of years, though. Look out for the –
Oh, yeah. Agreed. I was going to say that's one team I got on my radar, team to watch. I mean, the young talent there with Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero and Kevin Biggio, and they have even a couple up-and-coming prospects, I believe, in the minors, at least 1 pitching prospect. I'm trying to remember his name, who's supposed to be a stud. And, I mean, look, the Yankees have that. I'm not 100% sure what the playoff format is going to be if this is the case. I'm sure they'll take the division winners and maybe 2 wildcard teams like normal. But I also heard rumblings of them expanding to 7 from each division. So in that case, that would be 4 wildcard teams. 3 divisions.
I mean, the Grapefruit League is stacked, and we didn't even get to the Cactus League yet. So
yeah, exactly. After listening, I'll go through the teams in the Cactus League real quick, but you'll quickly realize the amount of competition is not even close. Yeah. This division is the travel's actually in the Cactus League a lot easier. It seems that all teams, that's why they're even considering the Arizona plan, is it seems that most teams will be able to play each other really close by. I mean, of course, like I just said with the Mets, I mean, the Nationals and the Astros are in West Palm Beach. The Mets are in St. Lucie. That's about a 45-minute drive, which is close. But they're saying, like, this league, the teams are, like, actually, like, way closer. There's a lot of teams that share facilities. And just in general, teams are really close by to each other. And
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's one state.
Yeah, so. I mean, right. But So this is divided into the Northeast, the West, and the Northwest. So the Northeast would be the Cubs, the Giants, the Diamondbacks, the Rockies, and the Athletics. The West would be the Dodgers, the White Sox, the Reds, the Indians, and the Angels. And then finally, the Northwest would be the Brewers, Padres, Mariners, Rangers, and Royals. And right off the bat, the division that sticks out to me the most is the West. You have the Dodgers, who have been a perennial powerhouse in the National League for the last 5 years plus.
And
And the Indians, yes, like you were saying, who have also been a postseason opponent, 90-win team.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they have the second most wins in baseball over the last 5 years. Did you even know that?
I did not, but it doesn't surprise me too much because we saw them. I mean, they made the World Series. Then that year, there was the one year that the Yankees knocked them out in the first round, but they won like 25 games in a row. And I remember Jay Bruce, They got him in a trade, and he just went off.
Yeah.
So I can believe that for sure.
Yeah, so that division really sticks out because then you also have the Angels, who are greatly improved with the signing of Anthony Rendon. I know they're still a pitcher away, but they're also getting back, hopefully, a healthy Shohei Ohtani, which I don't know if you heard. Somebody made comments the other day that saying CC that he might be the best player he's ever seen. So, I mean, a healthy rebound from him, that automatically makes that lineup 3-4-5 punch formidable.
Right.
And up-and-coming teams as well in the White Sox, who spent a lot of money in the offseason, and the Reds, who both teams are usually AL and NL Central opponents that are going to get the opportunity to play in a tough division with each other. But they're both really improved. I mean, I'm sure you have to like what the White Sox did this offseason, right?
I love it. I mean, who went out, got Keuchel, they got some pitching, made a couple other moves. Grandal, one of the best catchers in baseball. They got a young prospect, Luis Robert, coming up. So it's gonna be pretty cool if this was it. But going over all three plans, in your opinion, what do you think is the best?
I'm going to go with yours, plan 2, which is division realignment, because I think that would be, as a baseball fan, the most fun. It'll be the closest thing to resembling a real MLB season. And I just think that this is a good way to actually expand on some of these rivalries that you don't get to see that often, like Mets-Yankees, Mets-Red Sox,
so entertaining.
Yankees-Phillies, Yankees-Braves. You know, I think it's great. I mean, what do you have to think?
I agree with you completely, and here's the one big difference that I like this compared to what you were just explaining, the Cactus Grapefruit League. The games will be played in these teams' home stadiums in all likelihood. So that means even if stadiums are empty, I'd still much rather watch the Yankees play at Yankee Stadium than see them play down in Tampa or see the Mets play here in Citi Field rather than Port St. Lucie. So, and then they're still traveling to all other 30 MLB Major League ballparks. It won't be as frequent because of the coronavirus and travel is going to be restricted. But I'd rather see a team playing an empty home stadium than an empty home minor league stadium or spring training stadium, rather. So
I'm very interested in hearing what the MLB has to say about this plan when they speak on it more, as far as how they're going to make these schedules and whether or not there's a target start date. I believe they said this is the plan they're trying to push forward, I believe. And I believe they said July 1st is a date that they're looking at, but who knows what's going on in the world right now, unfortunately.
Right, it's going to be tough.
Yep. And all in all, I was just going to say this again. As much as I don't like the idea of seeing people play in Arizona, I just want to see some baseball. So any of these three plans works for me, as much as we like this.
Yep, you and I, a couple of baseball junkies. We need baseball. We love baseball. So any baseball I could take, I want it.
Awesome.
So, guys, thank you so much for listening. That was the second episode of the SNS Sportscast. If you guys like our ideas or don't like our ideas, either way, comment down below and tell us why or why not. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.